What I love about Volo is I love that it's very country, but you still have all that shopping close enough, just like all the essential. It's just like really what it is. My name's Megan Farmer, and I'm your Northern Illinois realtor, and I help people buy and sell homes all across Northern Illinois. Plus, I like to give all the inside scoop about what's happening and what's changing in Northern Illinois. So let's go check out Volo Illinois on niche.com, because it's actually, even though it's like one of those places that like there's only 11 reviews for, it's actually got quite a few rankings actually for just such a small area. I mean, this has the population around 6,400 people. So with Volo, it's got 11 reviews and it's 4.5 stars. So it's actually really good. The overall grade is A-, which I'd say is pretty accurate. Got a B+ for the public schools, B+ for housing, B- for cost of living, nightlife, B- for diversity, B+ for health and fitness. There's no ranking for crime and safety, probably because it's like so small and they don't really have their own, they feed into other cities, police and fire and everything. So that's probably why. And then with the cost of living, the B-, I'm going to be willing to bet that has something to do with some of the property taxes, because there are some special service areas in various parts of Volo that are on the tax bill, but after so many years that actually comes off, and it could be $1,000. There are varying prices of what that's adding to the tax bill. There's actually going to be a bunch of places though that'll definitely be knocked off. So that's probably part of it, because the cost of living overall out into the suburbs closer to Volo is actually a lot less than some of those suburbs as you get closer to the city, and especially in the city of Chicago. And then of course there's A for good for families, A- for jobs, A for outdoor activities, because it's true, there's just so much. You're kind of out in the country, kind of out, I don't want to say in the middle of nowhere, but you're definitely farther out into the suburbs than maybe some people are used to. A- for jobs, probably because there's just that direct route. You're so close to the major roads to go to any city you want to. You're not traveling all that far. Now, obviously, you're not by a toll road. You have to drive a little bit for that, but that's going to be more for people that are driving, that want to go much closer to the city for the most part. And of course, outdoor activities. There's just so much to do out there. So many forest preserves, and honestly, you don't even need the forest preserve to walk around, because it's really just very calm all around that general area. You could pretty much walk anywhere that there's sidewalks. You can without sidewalks, but sidewalks are better. And then of course, C+ for weather, C for commute. And C for commute's definitely for those bigger, city areas. C+ for weather, because if we're in Illinois and we get 4 seasons in one day sometimes. So that's definitely going to be that. But overall, pretty good. B+ for housing. There's a lot of townhomes in Volo. There's definitely some single family homes, but a lot less in terms of, other areas. But it's just a really nice little area to live, and it keeps you close enough to those suburbs like Vernon Hills and Libertyville and, Palatine and Arlington Heights, and these areas that are really just blowing up, Wheeling, Buffalo Grove, and just where these other services too, various services you might need. If you have a child that's autistic and on the spectrum, there's a lot more services out in Vernon Hills and Libertyville and Arlington Heights and Buffalo Grove. Those are some really top-notch areas to find services for that. So you can kind of expect a little bit of a drive for some of that kind of stuff. But overall, still, if you're looking for just like peaceful living for the most of whenever you're at home, most of the time, you just want to relax at home, hang out in nature. Volo is like one of those perfect little areas just to have that nice little home where you feel like you're getting away from all that hustle and bustle, but still just be close enough to be able to go there for whatever services you need, work, whatever. Yeah, so Volo is in Lake County, Illinois. It's not that far though from McHenry County. It's fairly close to the border of McHenry County, but it is a Lake County, Illinois. As I mentioned, the population's around 6,400, so it's just Volo itself is not very big. Most people aren't going to Volo or looking directly at Volo. Maybe Volo's coming in because they're looking at a particular school district or school, and some of the Volo addresses come in. Most people aren't going to just like focus on Volo to live, but I think that you should, because it's perfect. You want to make sure that when you are searching, you're using like, say, the school districts, because you want those Volo homes to pop up, because they are really, really good options for living in and just the area. You might go to, Grant Township school, you might go to Wakanda schools. So you just have a lot of options because it just feeds into so many different areas. Make sure when you're searching for homes that you don't just do the city, like, oh, Grays Lake schools, I'm searching in Grays Lake, because then you're gonna knock out potentially a ton of other cities, or, like I said, because Volo doesn't have its own school. So Volo will definitely feed into when you're searching just for like school or school districts. So remember that. So real estate, the median home values just shy of 300,000, which is totally accurate because of the amount of townhomes. So we have a lot of townhomes in the 200,000s, a lot. And then some other, like apartment type condos. And then some townhomes are very like next to each other and just like townhomes. And then some are like the way that they're done, like in Symphony Meadows, where there's several there's one on the end and it's very like, seems like a single family home, but then on the back you'll have 4 more units. So you can have that one with a private driveway, so it's kind of like living in a single family detached home, but it's not. You got those other townhomes behind you, so you had this interesting mix. And then of course there's duplexes in Symphony Meadows, and there's other duplexes, plus then you get into the single family detached homes of Volo. So those you can see into the 400s, maybe even into the 500s if it's like super nice, and depending on land and everything. Any other ones that are gonna be a lot more money might have a lot of land. That might be farm or farm of some kind around Volo. And then it shows the median rent here is $2,200. That could be potentially accurate. I don't want to say for sure it is. 81% says that it's owners, so it's primarily owner occupied homes. So that might just be like skewed a little bit by not having a lot of rent data. So you can see here on the map, you can kind of see the general outline of Volo, and it's kind of a little awkward, just kind of all around. Little areas are kind of weird. And then you can see, so you got Remington Point, which is up here. Oaks of Volo's right here, and then Symphony Meadows is right down here, and you've got like the townhomes and the duplexes here, and then it goes down into here across Gilmer Road to more single family detached homes. There's some on the other side, on each side of Gilmer, and then there's a little bit more townhomes. So you've got a lot of homes right here, and then you've got Lancaster Falls over here. And then, like I said, you can kind of see in here, like where the roads are, right? And like I said, Remington Point, like these are just some of the major areas to live. There's just not a lot of other homes. A lot of the other homes are just going to be off of, Gilmer, and they might have a lot more land. They're not going to come for sale as often as homes in these subdivisions. But yeah, you can see how close Volo is to a lot of other cities. So let's see, look at that, like I said, so you can see kind of just, here's a townhome, and then you got some single family homes, low 400s, mid 400s, 500, that's typically what you're going to see. Let's take a quick peek. I want to see there's some of the new construction at Oaks of Volo, and like, look at this right here. What is this? This is huge. It's quite a bit of acreage. It looks commercial. So a lot of these like higher costs are primarily commercial. And now we're getting into other cities. So yeah. Now let's check out some of these rankings. I want to look at some of these. So look at that. Best suburbs to buy a house in America. Number 1,481 is 6804. Well, it's actually pretty good considering Volo is so small. It's just one of those areas that a lot of people aren't going to know. So it's pretty cool though. Volo rankings in Illinois, number 67 of 362. That's pretty cool actually. It's true. It's just a nice little area, and it just feeds to so many other towns, and it's easy to get to them. It's easy to get to pretty much everything you need from there while feeling like you're living in the country on a really relatively low budget. Number 95 of 362, best suburbs for young professionals. I agree. Number 122 of 635, best places to buy a house in Illinois. It's pretty good. It's just a nice little area. And like really all these rankings are pretty good. Pretty cool. Best suburbs to buy a house in Chicago area, number 44 of 293. Rankings in Lake County. Look at that. Number 16, 1651, 1651, 17 of 51. So even though it's just a small area, you know, it's beating out so many others in Lake County. And like I said, crime and safety, they don't really have the data here. And that's potentially just because of them not having that police department. And then you can kind of see too for Volo, not a whole lot of people, you know, only about 14% total 55 and older live in Volo. You got a lot of people that looks like, but based on the percentages for kids and the ages here, a lot of families. A lot of families, which makes sense. That's why it's very high owner occupied. So that's going to be a large part of it, because that was about 81%. That makes sense. You can see working in Volo, because right, it had the A- job. That's estimating about 145,000 median household income. That can obviously just vary depending on jobs, you know, your jobs and everything that live in Volo. Places like Volo, it brings up Wakanda and Lake Villa. Bartlett's kind of far. Bartlett is not that close to Volo. But yeah, Wakanda's right there. Lake Villa's right there. Wakanda Township's Wakanda. So here's these reviews. A 5-star, a 4-star, and a 3-star. I want to go see the 3 stars first. 2017 and 2015. So these are pretty old. It's definitely changed quite a bit since then. So here's some 5-star reviews. Great neighborhood that is peaceful and quiet and beautiful, very safe and higher end housing available. That's true. There's a wide range. We moved to Volo in November of 2020 and it has been a lovely change of pace. Life moves at a much slower pace in Volo and the community is very family oriented. If you have school-age children, you will find yourself right at home since most people are in the same boat. My daughter managed to acquire a whole new crew of friends in less than a week and she is outside playing pretty much constantly. Overall, Volo is quiet, safe, and relaxing place to call home where neighbors look out for one another. It is basically a cultural throwback to the life in the 1950s America that has managed to carve out a niche into the present day. The only bad part for a new potential resident is the current nightmarish housing market. This was 2021. Getting a house in Volo is far from easy these days. Houses on the market have an accepted offer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it was during COVID, so that was pretty typical of the area and a lot of the nation. So here's another one. This is a great family community. The area is great as well, very close to Wisconsin and is not a far distance from Chicago. Volo was a small town in Lake County that we moved to as a method to escape the more annoying and more densely packed Schaumburg neighborhood we left behind. Thus far, at 1 year, it has been a great experience and a decision I am glad we made. This is also 2020. The town has exploded in the last 20 years from 180 people to 2,000 in 2000 to nearly 5,000 in 2020. Lots of new developments in town and it's ongoing. Most people live here, have a family, and there's plenty of outdoor activities. Schools have also been a breath of fresh air for the kiddos. Bad aspect of living in Lake County is the property taxes. They are pretty insane, so keep in mind if you're house shopping in the area, the bottom line is Volo is small, semi-rural, and incredibly friendly town with great community spirit. We love it here. And it says, I like the community in Volo, although most jobs nearby would be in Grayslake or McHenry. Good places to eat though. That's pretty good for a little town. Yeah, so like a wide range of just varying 5-star reviews. Definitely. I think they kind of nailed it though. They mentioned the commute and the property taxes as downsides, but everything else is really an upside for Volo. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. That way you get notified anytime I put out a new video. As always, if you have any real estate related questions, please feel free to DM me, comment on the video. Just let me know directly what you're curious about or what you want to know. If Volo is somewhere where you're interested in, please don't hesitate to reach out. I know if I needed somewhere to go, if I wasn't in the situation I am, I'm married, I have kids, we got a house, but if I was in a situation where I needed something more affordable, I'd 100% be looking at Volo. I just think it's just everything with it being so close and so simple. So I've helped sellers and buyers in Volo. It's an amazing little community. I've had sellers leaving, but not by choice per se. I've had sellers leave for job opportunities out of state, but they love their home. They were in it 10 plus years. So if they had the choice to not leave, they might not, but they had the opportunity to leave, so they did, out of state. But it's an amazing area. It comes highly recommended by both the sellers that I've helped and the buyers that I've helped. Love their townhomes. They love the area. And it is really just a nice little community. If you're from Volo or you're interested in learning more about Volo, comment, let me know what you're curious about or what you think. I'd love to know. Have a good one. Until next time.